Get Saquon the record.
Yes.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Look, for me, from a player perspective, like if it were just an individual deal where guys felt like, oh, it's just him trying to go and get a record. No, they actually feel like it's theirs. When you listen to the offensive linemen, like they want this for him as well. You can say except for Lane, but I believe Lane would want it for him too. Here's the deal. Saquon has the complete control. He can dead this. He could say, I don't want to do it. And it will be done.
That's true.
It would be over. The fact that he hasn't, he shouldn't have to say that he wants to do it. It should be a decision that's made by the head coach, as well as. But
out to lunch there. He keeps talking about convening committees.
I understand that.
Well, he's wanting somebody else to make decisions.
One of the things that he said was every situation is a little different, and he's right. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs a couple years ago, when Travis Kelce.
Last year.
Was that last year?
When they could have gotten 1,000 yards.
Yeah, he could have got the 8 straight 1,000-yard season. Yeah. Chris Jones obviously needed a half sack. He played. Travis Kelce didn't.
Yeah, Chris Jones needed that $1 million.
He needed that, exactly. Yeah. But that was more of an individualized thing. You're dealing with a team that understands who they are. They're very secure. But if they lost Chris Jones, it would have been an issue.
Can I ask a question?
That's a good point.
Does Saquon playing mean the whole starting offense?
You have to. Everyone. This is why I feel like.
So what if Lane Johnson's like, yo, I need a week?
Yeah. Well, like maybe give him a week.
That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking.
So Lane, if you say Lane, give him a week. Yeah, you can give Lane a week.
Okay, that's what I'm
You
asking.
can't have everyone.
No, of course.
Everyone
but
out.
If Lane Johnson's like, hey man, I know my body, and this would be really helpful for me to have the week. And now you're doing it behind.
History's on the line. Like his name could ring forever.
See, I'm glad you said that, and it's similar for receivers. And I said yesterday that the Super Bowl obviously is the number one thing, and that's how I want Saquon to think. But we're outside. We're commentators. What is going to impact Saquon's legacy even more is if he got this record. These are the 3 men who have held this record since 1958. Jim Brown, O.J. Simpson, Eric Dickerson. That is the company Saquon Barkley puts himself in.
Correct.
And so Nick, is now, he's not a Hall of Famer at this point, but if he gets the
record, he might be.
I don't think he would be.
Oh, then you have to do it. I didn't even think about that.
I don't see, he's got Hall of Fame talent.
No question.
But the Giants obviously set him back and injuries. But you get this record, and then we'll see what you do.
I feel like this record kind of goes in the bucket of like those 2 amazing Terrell Davis years where it's like, we're just going to eye test, put him in. You know what I mean? Like,
and he won.
You know what I mean? And so, because he wouldn't have the resume, like, you know, I think.
Yeah, if he didn't win those Super Bowls.
And
put him
so.
in for the jumping backwards. That's
so
Hall of Fame.
You think
that graphic got you?
What I think is 2 things. I think it's not so much to me about injury as it is about he already is 50 carries north of his career high. He's at 345, and they want him to play 4 playoff games, they hope. So that the wear and tear factor concerns me. The other part of it is people acting like 101 yards is 21 yards makes me nervous because the eventuality that is on the board that no one is talking about is we're going for it. We don't get it. And what if that's how deflating now you've got all the downside of it. The Giants, first of all, you're probably going to have Jalen Hurts, so they already would just be trying to stop the run. It's the Giants. It wouldn't shock me if they were like, you know what? We hear a lot about 2 high and 1 high safety. We're running 0 high safety.
I was hoping you said
why?
This. Because teams have too much pride. You still have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I don't care if it's Kenny Pickett at the quarterback position. You're telling me you're going to leave A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith?
I don't think they're going to be playing.
No, I don't think. If this happens, this is my point. This is what I'm saying.
Everybody's going?
Everybody has to be on board. Exactly. You can't. If Lane Johnson if you have a guy that needs time, okay. But it's either we're all in this or we are not going to get it.
But if they do that, my point is
that's
if they
the
leave
thing.
those
Even
guys,
if they don't get it, Nick, let's say he gets 85 yards, that still can build morale because, like, yo, Saquon's thinking, man, they went for me.
All right, listen. This is we've already had this conversation in so many different ways, and so I don't want to kind of keep repeating the same talking points and whatnot, but I really wanted to highlight Greg's point of view an opinion, obviously coming from an ex-player and all that. And I've already kind of gone on my whole kind of rant about legacy. That, listen, if Saquon Barkley is going to be a Hall of Famer, or going to be discussed as an all-time great running back, whether he's a little shy of this record or not, should not fundamentally change that. If Saquon continues to have another great 2-3 years after this year and put up like awesome numbers and just be continue to be a top running back, whether he's just 100 yards shy of that record or not, should not change whether he's a Hall of Famer or not. Because this is Hall of Fame, and legacy is not binary. It's not, well, he has the record or he doesn't have the record. Like it's just not like that. It's a single season accomplishment, which is awesome and amazing, but it's also like it should also be understood. Yeah, well, he sat out. And I get it when we're having these conversations, and the truth is that when this record gets talked about again, the reality is it'll be in like, who knows, 5 years, 6 years, maybe less, maybe more, depending on when they do go to an 18-game schedule. They'll list O.J. Simpson, Dickerson, Brown, and then Saquon, right? Like they'll have his name up there and be like, these are the guys that did it. And then like, that's it. And then we move on and talk about someone else. So this whole idea of legacy is actually so much more short-lived. It just is. Unless you're a legend. People keep mistaking legacy for legend. Tom Brady, it's not his legacy. He's a legend. He is a legend. Patrick Mahomes will most likely be a legend. A legend. All these things mean different things. If it's important to Saquon Barkley individually, because he only got one life to live, and he wants to be able to retire saying, I did this, this is a dream come true for me, man, then I get it. Then I would be like, okay, maybe like I'd have to really think about it. Because it is. The fact that everybody needs to play. Everybody, A.J. Brown, Devontae, Mailata, like they all got to get out there. You're now risking actually a handful of players. And don't tell me that the injury risk is not a real thing. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts both got injured last year. Jalen Hurts dislocated his finger. A.J. Brown, what was his knee or whatever, his hamstring, I forget. And this season already, Devontae has been down. A.J. has been down. Dallas Goedert's currently down. Jalen Hurts is down. Saquon Barkley himself missed a bunch of drives when he was in the blue tent, dealing with some sort of issue. Multiple linemen down. I think Lane Johnson missed a game or two. Like, these are all real things that happen. So stop acting like injury concerns are not indeed an actual concern, because it is. It's a real thing, and getting rest is a real thing that fundamentally matters. This O-line has been working hard. Saquon Barkley has been working hard. So it's a tough one. It's not an easy answer. I get why they want to go for it. I'm not afraid of them trying to go for it and not getting it. Like, no. But I am scared of the New York Giants. Of being up to no good. To sound like an old man, they're up to no good. I don't trust the Giants. They're going to get a couple young bottom feeders who are struggling just to play in the league, who are angry, who are bitter, who don't like that someone else is shining brighter. I'm not going to say that they're going to go out and hurt Saquon Barkley on purpose, but they are going to try to lay down as much physical pain as they possibly can. The defensive line as well. Like, it's actually going to be harder just because of they're going to want to lay some pain. They're going to put some hard hits and do everything they can. And if they did hurt Saquon Barkley, I could already see the press conference afterwards of whoever it was. John Smith from the Giants. yeah, man, of course I'm not trying to hurt him. This is why we play football. It's a man's sport. Anything could happen. And, unfortunately for Saquon, but, we're not going to just roll over and let him get the record. You're going to hear some generic nonsense. And that's why Sirianni said, like, he's got to talk to Howie Roseman. He's got to talk to Jeffrey Lurie. He's got to talk to, some of the captains and the leaders of the team. Like, this is, if you're an Eagles fan, this is kind of like, not your worst nightmare, but it's like a little bit of a fever dream because you're like, man. And this wouldn't even been a thing if Jalen Hurts doesn't go down against the Commanders. I firmly believe that Saquon would have at least had like another 50, 60 yards in him because that run game went nowhere when Jalen went down. He had that one big run, and then after that, it was nothing. They could not do it. They were obviously ill prepared for that. And he could have gotten at least like another 50. And then maybe this is now only 50. And then again, maybe they actually just continue to like get it against the Cowboys. Maybe they're just like, heck, whatever, man. Because there is a way where you're kind of like, hey, we're going to have Saquon Barkley really just kind of work, down the sideline more. We're going to kind of have it where, like, essentially he's going to get 5, 6, 10 yards, whatever it is, and then he's going to get out of bounds. He's going to get out of bounds. Like, we're going to try to get him these yards going out of bounds, protecting him. Like, there's all kind of different ways to do it. You can't do that when you are 101 rushing yards away. Like, he will take pain. He will get hits. The O-line will have to work hard. And so if this whole team needs to play, like, a bye matters. And if all goes to plan, the Philadelphia Eagles will have 4 games. That's a lot of football. That's a ton of football. And that's what I kept saying about Saquon Barkley. If all goes to plan, Saquon should get the ball another 120 times, including carries and receptions. That's another 120 tackles outside of maybe if he gets into the end zone and isn't tackled. That's a lot. Think about it. If all goes to plan, it's essentially another quarter of a season. Another 25%. And the Eagles are playing special. They are playing high-level football. And they will need Saquon Barkley. And if there's a game, and it's the NFC Championship game, and it's the Eagles versus the Vikings, and it's a 2020 game, 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, they need Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is not a luxury. They need him. They need him. I showed you all in this last clip. This was the Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl. 38-35. Jalen Hurts balling, but he had to be the leading rusher for 70 yards. They had 115 as a team. Kenneth Gainwell, 21. Miles Sanders, 16. Boston Scott, 8. They averaged under 3 yards per carry outside of Jalen Hurts. If they have Saquon Barkley in 2022, they win the Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl. They're Saquon Barkley away from winning the Super Bowl. That matters. That matters. You talk about O.J. Simpson, a big Philly guy. A big Philly guy, Ray Didinger, he interviewed O.J. Simpson and said, hey, you have all these records. This was back when, O.J. was a thing. And was like, I think it was one of his, like, earliest interviews for the guy, Ray Didinger, who's, like, again, like a big Philly sports guy. And he asked him, and he was like, you have the records, you have all this type of stuff, would you trade it for a Super Bowl? And he said, I traded all for a Super Bowl. So it's a fascinating one. You ask Saquon Barkley, and you got to get like a really honest answer, because not everyone will answer this question honestly, because it'll take a second. You can win the MVP or or have the rushing record. What was it going to be? Or you could get a Super Bowl MVP and win it all and win a Super Bowl MVP. or you could win a regular season MVP and never win the Super Bowl. These are interesting conversations. And that's the thing. If the Eagles did go to the Super Bowl, and if the Eagles won, Saquon Barkley would be the betting favorite. If the Eagles just get to the Super Bowl, no matter who they're facing, whether it's the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, whoever, Saquon Barkley would most likely be a top 2. It most likely would be the opposing team's quarterback. So it would be like, Mahomes or Allen or Lamar or someone else maybe, who knows. And then the next betting favorite would most likely be Saquon Barkley over Jalen Hurts. So again, people are like, well, why can't it be both? It can be both, but by chasing one, you're technically risking the other. It is a legitimate risk. And you can't just say, well, you can get hurt walking down the street, or you can get hurt at any point in the season. First off, your chances of getting hurt later in the season increase exponentially. And you can't just say, well, you could always get hurt. If you can mitigate risk, you do it. That's why in a blowout, you rest your starters. That's why there's buys. That's why these teams fight for the bye. That's why the actual seasoned veteran who won the Super Bowl, Lane Johnson's like, no, man, I know what it takes. I know how hard of a grind this is. We got to rest up. It's awesome. We got 2,000. We got bigger aspirations. We got bigger goals. Let's get after it. So it's going to be fascinating to see which way this goes, honestly. It's going to be crazy. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you think that they should go for the record? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.